The space station floated in the darkness between stars. It was called Helix 9, and it was the only place where humans and aliens could meet in peace. The station was old and small, but it was neutral ground. No weapons were allowed inside. No armies could enter. Commander Elena Vance walked through the long metal hallways. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor. In her arms, she held a baby wrapped in a warm blanket. The baby was sleeping. His name was Lucas, and he was 6 months old. He had dark hair and small hands that sometimes grabbed at the air, while he dreamed Elena was 32 years old. She had brown hair that she kept tied back and tired eyes that had seen too much. 3 months ago, her sister had died when their research ship was destroyed in a battle. The ship had been caught between 2 alien fleets fighting each other. Everyone on board had been killed except for Lucas. A rescue team had found him floating in an escape pod, alone and crying but alive. Now Elena was the only family Lucas had left. She had promised her dying sister through a broken radio that she would protect him. She had kept that promise so far. Today, she was about to meet the most powerful alien in this part of the galaxy. The door at the end of the hallway opened. Elena stepped into a large room with tall windows that showed the stars outside. The room was empty, except for a long table and chairs that were too big for humans. Standing near the window was the Alpha King of the Dreven Empire. Elena had seen pictures of the Dreven before, but seeing one in person was different. Kale Zarthan was almost 8 feet tall. His skin was covered in silver scales that shined like metal. His eyes were the color of melted copper, and they seemed to glow in the dim light. He wore simple black clothes, but there was no hiding what he was. Power came off him like heat from a fire. Behind him stood 4 Dreven guards and 2 advisors. They were all watching Elena with careful eyes. Elena stopped walking. Lucas made a small sound in his sleep, but did not wake up. "You are the human called Elena Vance," Kale said. His voice was deep like thunder. It made the air shake. "I am," Elena said. She kept her voice steady. She would not show fear. Humans had learned long ago that showing fear to the Dreven only made things worse. "And that is the child," Kale said. He was looking at Lucas now. His copper eyes were focused on the baby with an interest that made Elena hold him tighter. "His name is Lucas. He is my nephew." "He is more than that," Kale said. Elena did not answer. She knew what he meant. Everyone in this room knew what made Lucas special. 3 weeks ago, Dreven scouts had detected a strange signal coming from Helix 9. The signal was genetic. It came from Lucas. Somehow, this human baby had traces of Dreven the N mixed with his human blood. Scientists could not explain it. They thought maybe thousands of years ago, humans and Dreven had met before. Maybe they had mixed their blood in some way that was now forgotten. Whatever the reason, Lucas carried ancient Dreven markers in his genes. For most people, this would just be an interesting fact. For the Dreven Empire, it was much more. The Dreven were dying. Their species had ruled this part of space for 10,000 years. They were strong and proud and had never been defeated in war. But something was wrong with their blood. For the last 300 years, fewer and fewer Dreven babies had been born. Many Dreven couples could not have children at all. The royal family had not produced an heir in over 50 years. Scientists had tried everything, but nothing worked. The Dreven were slowly disappearing until they found Lucas. The baby had Dreven blood. Old Dreven blood, from before the sickness started. To Kale and his people, Lucas was not just a child. He was hope. Kale walked closer. His footsteps were heavy on the metal floor. He stopped just a few feet away from Elena and looked down at the sleeping baby. "He has the mark," Kale said quietly. He was looking at Lucas's closed eyes. "The gold flecks. I can see them even now." Elena looked at Lucas. The baby's eyes were closed, but she knew what Kale meant. When Lucas opened his eyes, you could see tiny spots of gold mixed with the brown. They were small, but they were there. Elena had thought they were beautiful. Now she wondered if they meant something more. "What do you want?" Elena asked. She was tired of waiting. She wanted to know why the most powerful king in the galaxy had come to this small station to see a baby. Kale looked at her. His copper eyes were hard to read. "My empire needs an heir," he said. "Without one, my people will lose hope. They will fight each other for power when I die. The empire will fall apart. The Vex will come and destroy what is left." Elena knew about the Vex. Everyone did. They were a hive-minded species that lived on the edge of known space. They did not talk or trade. They only consumed. They took over other species and made them part of their collective. They had been quiet for a long time, but lately their scouts had been seen near Dreven borders. Everyone knew they were planning something. "I still do not understand what you want from me," Elena said. Kale leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Say the baby is mine." Elena felt cold. "What?" "Claim that Lucas is my son. Let me announce him as my heir. He has Dreven blood in him. It is old blood, royal blood, from before the sickness. My people will accept him. They need to believe the royal line continues." "You want me to lie to your entire empire?" "I want you to give your species a future," Kale said. His voice was calm but heavy with meaning. "The Vex are coming. When they attack, the Dreven will be their first target. But if we fall, humans will be next. Your colonies are weak. Your fleets are small. You cannot fight the Vex alone." He straightened up and looked at her with those burning eyes. "Give me this child. Let me raise him as my heir. In return, I will give humanity protected status within our borders. Your people can live in our space. Trade with us. Build your numbers. When the war comes, you will not stand alone." Elena looked at Lucas. The baby was still sleeping, unaware that his future was being decided by strangers. "And what happens to Lucas?" she asked. "Will he be safe?" "He will be a prince," Kale said. "He will have everything. Teachers, guards, the best of everything the Empire can offer. He will want for nothing, except the truth about who he really is." Kale was silent for a moment. Then he said, "The truth is what we make it. This child has Dreven blood. That is true. He can lead my people. That is also true. Does it matter if I am his father by blood or by choice?" Elena did not know how to answer. Everything was happening too fast. Yesterday, she had been a simple officer taking care of her dead sister's baby. Today, she was being asked to change the fate of 2 species. "I need time to think," she said. Kale nodded. "You have until the next cycle. 20 of your hours. After that, I must return to my homeworld." He turned and walked back toward the window. His guards and advisors followed. At the door, he stopped and looked back. "Think carefully, Commander Vance. This is not just about one child. It is about millions of lives, human and Dreven alike." Then he was gone. Elena stood alone in the room, holding Lucas against her chest. The baby finally opened his eyes and looked up at her. His brown eyes with their tiny gold flecks seemed to see right through her. "What am I going to do with you?" she whispered. Lucas just smiled, as if the answer was simple, even if she could not see it yet. Elena did not sleep that night. She sat in her small room on Helix 9 with Lucas in a crib beside her. The baby slept peacefully, but Elena's mind would not rest. She kept thinking about what Kale had said. She kept thinking about what it would mean to give Lucas to the Dreven. When morning came, she called Earth. The Colonial Council was made up of 12 people who made decisions for all human colonies in space. They met in a building on Earth, that their voices could reach across the stars through special communication systems. Elena had never talked to them before. She was not important enough. But today, they answered her call. Admiral Nathan Cole appeared on the screen first. He was an old man with white hair and a hard face. He had fought in 3 wars and did not trust aliens. "Commander Vance," he said, "we received your report. This is a serious situation." "Yes, sir," Elena said. More faces appeared on the screen. Elena recognized Dr. Grace Liu, the Council's expert on alien species. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gray hair. The other Council members filled the remaining boxes on the screen. 12 faces looking at Elena, waiting for her to explain. Elena told them everything. She told them about Kale's offer. She told them about the Vex threat. She told them about the protected status that humans would receive if she agreed. When she finished, the Council was silent for a long moment. Then Admiral Cole spoke. "You cannot be seriously considering this. We are talking about giving a human child to aliens. Our own people will never accept it." "With respect, sir," Elena said, "Lucas is not just any child. He has Driven DNA. He will never have a normal life among humans. People will always see him as different. That does not mean we hand him over to be used as a political tool," Cole said. Dr. Grace Liu raised her hand. "May I speak?" The other Council members nodded. "I have studied the Driven for 30 years, Grace said. They are not our enemies. They have never attacked human ships or colonies. The incident that killed Commander Vance's sister was an accident. We were caught in their battle with another species. That does not make them our friends," Cole said. "No," Grace agreed. "But it makes them potential allies. And we need allies, Admiral. The Vex Dominion is growing stronger every year. Their scouts have been seen in 3 new sectors this month alone. If they attack the Driven and win, they will come for us next. Our outer colonies will fall in weeks." The Council members started talking over each other. Some agreed with Cole. Some agreed with Grace. The argument went on for almost an hour. Finally, Elena spoke up. "May I say something?" The Council fell silent. "I have been Lucas's guardian for 4 months," Elena said. "I have watched him grow. I have fed him and held him when he cried. And I have to tell you, there is something different about him. Something I cannot explain." "What do you mean?" Grace asked. Elena thought about how to answer. "When he looks at me, it feels like he understands things. More than a baby should. Sometimes I catch him looking at the stars through the window, and it seems like he is waiting for something. Like he knows his life is going to be bigger than this small station." "You think he belongs with the Driven?" Cole asked. "I think he belongs somewhere important," Elena said. "I do not know if that means with the Driven or with us. But I know that keeping him hidden on Earth, treating him like a normal child, that would be a lie too." The Council voted. It was close. 6 voted yes. 5 voted no. 1 could not decide. The yes votes won. Elena would accept Kale's offer. But there were conditions. She would stay on Helix 9 as Lucas's official human liaison. She would visit him every year and send reports back to Earth. And if Lucas was ever hurt or mistreated, humanity had the right to take him back. Kale agreed to all the conditions. He seemed almost pleased that Elena would stay involved. Maybe he respected her. Or maybe he just wanted to keep the humans happy. Elena could not tell. The ceremony happened the next day. The main hall of Helix 9 was filled with Driven officials and soldiers. Cameras sent the images across the entire empire. Billions of Driven watched from 1,000 different worlds. Elena stood beside Kale at the front of the room. She wore her best uniform. Her hands were shaking, but she kept them hidden behind her back. Lucas was in her arms, wearing new clothes that the Driven had made for him. They were black and silver, the colors of the royal family, Kale stepped forward. The room fell silent. "My people," he said, his voice filling the hall. "For 50 years, the royal house has been without an heir. You have worried about the future. You have asked who will lead you when I am gone. Today, I give you your answer." He turned to Elena. She took a deep breath and placed Lucas in his arms. Kale lifted the baby high for everyone to see. Lucas did not cry. He just looked out at the crowd with his gold-flecked eyes, calm and curious. "I present to you my heir," Kale announced. "Born of my blood, blessed by the ancients. His name shall be Lucas Zarthan, and he shall one day rule after me." The crowd erupted in noise. Driven soldiers stomped their feet on the ground, making a sound like thunder. Officials cheered. Across the empire, billions of voices joined in celebration. Elena watched Kale's face during the noise. She expected him to look triumphant. This was his victory, after all. He had gotten what he wanted, but instead, she saw something else. When Lucas's tiny hand reached up and grabbed one of Kale's massive fingers, the Alpha King's copper eyes changed. They became softer, warmer. He looked down at the baby with something that was not just political interest, thought it was affection, maybe. Elena thought this lie had some truth in it after all. After the ceremony, Elena found Kale alone in a small room. He was still holding Lucas. The baby was asleep again, tired from all the noise and lights. "You care about him," Elena said. It was not a question. Kale did not look up. "I did not expect to. When I came here, he was just a solution to a problem. A way to save my empire. And now?" Kale was quiet for a moment. "Now, I look at him and I see the future. Not just the future of my empire. The future of everything. There is something special about this child, Commander. Something I do not fully understand." "The gold in his eyes," Elena said. "It is more than that. The old texts speak of a child who would come from the stars. A child who would unite the scattered peoples of the galaxy. I always thought it was just a story, a myth to give my people hope. And now you think Lucas is that child?" Kale finally looked at her. His copper eyes were serious. "I do not know what I think, but I know that when I hold him, I feel something I have not felt in many years. I feel like the universe is not just random chaos. I feel like things happen for a reason." Elena did not know what to say. She had never been religious. She had never believed in prophecies or destiny. But standing in that room, watching the most powerful king in the galaxy hold a human baby with such care, she wondered if maybe there were some things that could not be explained by science. "Take care of him," she said quietly. "He is all I have left of my sister." "I will," Kale said. "I give you my word. He will be safe. He will be loved. And when he is old enough, he will know the truth. He will know that he had two families who loved him. One human, one Driven." Elena nodded. Tears were forming in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She reached out and touched Lucas's cheek one last time. "Goodbye for now, little one," she whispered. "I will see you soon." Lucas opened his eyes and looked at her. And even though he was just a baby, Elena could have sworn he understood. The next morning, Kale's ship left Helix 9 with Lucas on board. Elena watched from the observation deck until the ship became just another star in the darkness. Then she went back to her room and cried. For a very long time, but somewhere deep inside, she knew she had made the right choice. 12 years passed. The galaxy changed, and so did Lucas. The boy grew up on the Driven homeworld, a planet called Zarthax Prime. It was a world of tall mountains and deep valleys, with cities made of black stone and silver metal. The sky was purple during the day and filled with 3 moons at night. Lucas learned to love that sky. He would spend hours on the balcony of the royal palace, looking up at the stars. Cale kept his promise to Elena. Lucas received the best education the Empire could offer. He had tutors for science, history, languages, and combat. He learned to read ancient Dreven texts and to speak 7 different languages. He trained with the finest warriors and studied with the wisest scholars. But his favorite times were the 3 months he spent every year on Helix 9 with Elena. She had stayed, just as she promised. The station had become her home. She taught Lucas about human history and culture. She told him stories about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests that no Dreven world had. She told him about his mother, her sister, and how she had been brave and kind and loved to laugh. Lucas treasured these stories. He kept them in his heart like precious jewels. As he grew, it became clear that Lucas was not like other children. He was smaller than full-blooded Dreven, reaching only 6.5 feet by his 12th year. But what he lacked in size, he made up for in other ways. His tutors noticed it first. Lucas could solve problems faster than anyone they had ever taught. He could look at a complex situation and see solutions that others missed. During strategy games, he would defeat opponents who had been playing for centuries. During combat training, he would predict his teacher's moves before they made them. The boy fights like he has lived 1,000 lifetimes, his combat instructor told Cale. He sees patterns that should be invisible. It is like he knows what is going to happen before it happens. Cale listened to these reports with growing wonder. He had raised Lucas as a political solution, a way to give his people hope. But the child was becoming something more. Something Cale did not fully understand. Then the incident started. The first one happened during a training exercise. Lucas was 14 years old. He was practicing with 3 other young Dreven in one of the palace training rooms. They were using wooden weapons, learning basic combat forms. Suddenly, one of the training machines broke. It was a gravity generator, designed to create areas of heavy gravity for strength training. When it broke, it released a wave of crushing force directly at 3 of the students. They were going to be crushed. Lucas was 20 feet away. There was no time to run and help them. No time to call for help. No time to do anything, but something happened. Lucas threw out his hand, and the 3 students flew backward to safety, pushed by some invisible force. They landed hard but alive. The gravity wave hit empty floor. Everyone in the room was frozen. They had seen what happened. Lucas had moved them without touching them. He had pushed them with his mind. Lucas looked at his hands. They were shaking. He did not know what he had done. He did not know how he had done it. What was that? One of the students whispered. Lucas had no answer. Cale came quickly when he heard. He cleared the room of everyone except Lucas. Then he kneeled down so they were at the same height. Tell me what you felt, Cale said quietly. Lucas thought about it. It was like the air became solid. Like I could push it. I saw them in danger, and I just wanted them to be safe. And then they were. Cale nodded slowly. He had read the ancient texts many times now. He knew the prophecies by heart, and he was starting to believe they were true, but he kept this to himself. The galaxy was not ready to know about Lucas's abilities. Neither was Lucas. We will keep this between us, Cale told him. For now, do not try to use this power again. It could be dangerous if you cannot control it. Lucas agreed. He was scared of what had happened. He did not want to hurt anyone, but the incidents did not stop. Over the next few years, there were more. Small things at first. Objects moving when Lucas was angry or scared. Lights flickering when he was upset. Then bigger things. A door that would not open suddenly flying off its hinges when Lucas needed to get through. A broken engine that started working again after Lucas touched it. Each time, Cale covered it up. He told people the machines had glitches. He moved servants who had seen too much. He kept Lucas's secret safe. But Cale also started preparing. He read the ancient texts again and again. He found passages that described the prophesied leader in detail. The child would have gold in his eyes, a mark of power. The child would be able to bend the very fabric of space and time. The child would unite the scattered peoples of the galaxy and lead them against a great darkness. When the stars align and blood mingles across the void, one passage read, "A child shall arise who is neither one nor the other, but both and beyond. He shall carry the mark of gold in his eyes, and through him the scattered children of the cosmos shall find their way home." Cale had claimed Lucas as his heir to save his dying dynasty. Now he wondered if something far greater had been at work all along. Meanwhile, the Vex were growing bolder. Their scouts had been seen in Dreven space more often in recent years. They probed defenses. They tested response times. They were learning. Admiral Cole, now very old but still on the Human Council, sent warnings to the Dreven. "The Vex are planning something," he wrote. "Our intelligence suggests a major attack within the next decade." Cale shared this with his generals. They began to prepare. New ships were built. Old alliances were renewed. The Dreven Empire had been at peace for many years. Now it was getting ready for war. Lucas knew about the Vex. He had studied them in his lessons. He knew they were dangerous. He knew they could not be reasoned with. He knew that someday he might have to fight them. What he did not know was that Vex had noticed him too. Their hive mind stretched across many worlds. It could sense things that individual beings could not. And it had sensed something on Zarthax Prime, a ripple in the fabric of space, a power that did not fit the normal patterns of the universe. The Vex Collective began to watch the Dreven Empire more closely. It began to make plans. On his 16th birthday, Lucas stood on the balcony of the royal palace and looked up at the three moons. Elena stood beside him. She had come for his birthday, as she did every year. "Are you happy here?" she asked. Lucas thought about it. "Yes, Cale has been good to me. The Dreven accept me, most of them anyway. I have a purpose here. I have a future, but..." Elena could hear the unspoken word. "But sometimes I feel like there is something else. Something I am supposed to do. Something bigger than just being a prince." Elena looked at him. He had grown so much. He was not a baby anymore. He was a young man, tall and strong and thoughtful. But those gold-flecked eyes were the same. They still seemed to see more than they should. "Maybe there is," she said. "Maybe someday you will figure out what it is." Lucas smiled. "Will you be there when I do?" "Always," Elena said. "I promised your mother I would protect you. I intend to keep that promise for the rest of my life." They stood together in silence, watching the moons rise. Neither of them knew that in just 2 years, everything would change. The Vex would attack. Lucas would discover who he really was. And the galaxy would learn that the small human baby who had been claimed by an alien king was destined for something far greater than anyone had ever imagined. But that night, they just enjoyed the peace. Because peace, as they would soon learn, never lasts forever. The attack came on Lucas's 18th birthday. He was returning from a diplomatic mission to human space. It had been his first official visit to Earth, a trip arranged by both Cale and the Human Council. Lucas had walked on the planet where his mother had been born. He had seen the blue oceans and green forests that Elena had described so many times. He had met with human leaders and spoken about peace and cooperation. It had been a good trip. Lucas was tired but happy as his ship traveled back toward Dreven space. Then the alarm started. "What is happening?" Lucas asked, running to the bridge of his ship. Commander Silas Vorn was there. He was a grizzled old Dreven with scars on his silver scales. He had been assigned to protect Lucas since the boy was 10 years old. Over the years, he had become more than a guard. He had become a friend. "Distress signal from Kethros Prime," Silas said. His copper eyes were dark with worry. "The Vex are attacking." Lucas felt cold. Kethros Prime was a border station. It held 50,000 Dreven civilians, women, children, families who had nothing to do with war. "How many Vex ships?" Lucas asked. 3,000 warships. Maybe more. The station cannot hold. They are asking for help. Lucas looked at the star map. Their ship was small, just a cruiser with 40 crew members. The main Dreven fleet was on the other side of the Empire, too far away to help in time. "Change course," Lucas said. "We are going to Kethros Prime." Silas stared at him. "My prince, we cannot fight 3,000 ships. We have one cruiser. They will destroy us in seconds." "I am not going to fight them," Lucas said. His voice was calm, but something strange was happening. The gold flecks in his eyes seemed to be getting brighter. "I am going to stop them." Silas wanted to argue. Every part of his training told him this was suicide. But when he looked at Lucas, he saw something that made him stop. He saw certainty. He saw power. He saw a young man who knew exactly what he was doing, even if no one else did. "Change course," Silas ordered the crew. "Maximum speed to Kethros Prime." They arrived 2 hours later. The station was already badly damaged. Vex boarding pods had attached to the hull in dozens of places. Their soldiers were inside, moving through the corridors, consuming everything in their path. Fires burned on multiple levels. The screams of the dying could be heard over the communication channels. Lucas watched through the viewport. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. Something was building inside him. Something he had kept hidden for years. Something he could not keep hidden anymore. "Dock with the station," he ordered. "My prince," Silas said, "the Vex are everywhere. If you go in there, you will die." "No," Lucas said. "I will not." He walked to the airlock. Before Silas could stop him, he opened it and stepped into the station alone. The first Vex soldier he met was right inside the door. It was a twisted thing, a creature that had once been some other species, but had been changed by the Vex collective. It had too many limbs and eyes that glowed with cold intelligence. It lunged at Lucas. Lucas raised his hand. The creature stopped in midair, frozen by an invisible force. Then it flew backward and smashed into the wall so hard that it stopped moving. Lucas kept walking. More Vex came. 10, 20, 50. They poured out of the corridors. Drawn by the strange energy they could sense coming from this small human. They wanted to consume him. They wanted to take his power for themselves. They could not touch him. Lucas moved through them like a storm. The power that had scared him as a child was now fully awake. He could feel the fabric of space around him. He could bend it to his will. Gravity obeyed him. Light bent around him. Light bent around him. The Vex fired their weapons, and the shots curved away before they could hit him. He pushed through the station, moving toward the center where the largest number of civilians were hiding. Behind him, Vex soldiers fell by the dozens. He did not kill them with weapons. He did not need to. He simply pushed them away, harder and harder, until they stopped moving. The Dreven survivors watched in shock as he passed. They saw their prince, the human boy their king had claimed 18 years ago, walking through an army alone. They saw him doing things that should have been impossible. They fell to their knees and whispered prayers to ancient gods. Lucas reached the central hub. This was where the Vex had concentrated their forces. Thousands of their soldiers filled the large room, surrounding the last defenders who protected the civilians. It was a hopeless fight. The defenders were about to fall. Lucas stepped into the room and stopped. Every Vex soldier turned to look at him. Their collective mind recognized him now. They knew what he was. They could feel his power. And for the first time in their existence, the Vex felt something they had never felt before. Fear. Lucas closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were pure gold. No brown remained. Just bright burning gold that seemed to light up the entire room. And then he spoke. But his voice did not come from his mouth. It came from everywhere. It echoed inside the minds of every being on the station, every being in the Vex ships outside, every being for millions of miles in every direction. You will leave this place. The words were simple, but they carried weight. They carried power. They carried the force of something ancient and unstoppable. You will leave these people, and you will carry a message back to your collective. The Vex soldiers trembled. Their hive mind was screaming at them to attack, but their bodies would not obey. Something stronger than the collective was holding them. Tell your masters that humanity stands with the Driven. Tell them that more will stand with us soon. And tell them that if you come for us again, you will face not just armies. You will face something you have never encountered before. Lucas raised his hand. A wave of force spread outward from him, pushing through the room, through the station, through space itself. Every Vex soldier was lifted and thrown backward. Not killed. Just moved. Pushed away from the station and back toward their ships. Tell them you will face hope. The Vex fleet began to retreat. Every ship, every soldier, every drone pulled away from Kethros Prime and jumped into subspace. In less than 10 minutes, they were gone. Lucas collapsed. Saz found him on the floor of the central hub, unconscious but alive. Around him, the survivors were crying and cheering. They had been saved. Their prince had saved them. But Celes did not cheer. He just looked at the young man on the floor and wondered what he had just witnessed. This was not just a prince. This was not just a boy with strange powers. This was something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. When word of the battle spread, everything changed. The story was told and retold across 1,000 worlds. The human prince who had turned back a Vex invasion alone. The boy with golden eyes who had spoken with the voice of the universe itself. Kale watched the reports from his throne room. His old copper eyes were filled with wonder and something that might have been pride. The prophecy, he whispered. It is true. It was always true. The scattered children of the cosmos were about to find their way home. And Lucas Zarthan, the baby who had been claimed with a whispered lie, was going to lead them there. The Battle of Kethros Prime changed everything. Words spread across the stars like fire through dry grass. Every species, every world, every colony heard the story of the human prince with golden eyes who had turned back a Vex invasion alone. News reporters showed the footage again and again. Witnesses told their stories to anyone who would listen. And slowly, something began to change. Species that had been isolated for centuries started reaching out. They sent messages to the Driven Empire. They sent messages to human space. They wanted to know more about this Lucas Zarthan. They wanted to know if the rumors were true. The Valeth came first. They were a peaceful species of traders who had stayed neutral in all galactic conflicts. Their ambassador arrived on Zarthax Prime 3 months after the battle and asked to meet the prince who had stopped the Vex. Lucas was still recovering from what had happened at Kethros Prime. Using so much power had left him weak. But he agreed to meet the Valeth ambassador. We have watched the footage many times, the ambassador said. She was a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. We have studied your words, and we believe you. Believe what? Lucas asked. That hope is possible. That standing together is possible. The Valeth have been afraid for a long time. Afraid of the Vex. afraid of stronger species, afraid to trust anyone. But watching what you did, hearing what you said, it made us think. Maybe fear is not the only way. Maybe there is another path. The Valeth offered an alliance. It was the first of many. The Cremani came next. They were a warrior species, almost as proud as the Driven. For centuries, they had fought wars with anyone who looked at them wrong. But their queen watched the footage of Kethros Prime and saw something that surprised her. She saw a warrior who did not kill when he did not have to. She saw power used with restraint. Your prince pushes back the enemy without destroying them, she said when she met Lucas. That takes more strength than simply killing. The Cremani respect strength. We would be honored to stand with you. Then came the Seventh Collective, a group of smaller species who had banded together for protection. Then the Morath. Then the Sentinel Union. Then a dozen more. Within a year, 17 species had offered alliances. They came to Zarthax Prime and met with Lucas and Kale. They talked about trade and defense and cooperation. They talked about a future where no species stood alone against threats like the Vex Dot. It was more than Kale had ever dreamed possible. You have done something remarkable, Kale told Lucas one evening. They were walking through the palace gardens, just as they had done many times over the years. But Kale moved slower now. He was old. The years had caught up with him. I have not done anything, Lucas said. I just showed them that we do not have to be afraid. They did the rest themselves. Kale smiled. That is what makes you special. You do not even see your own power. Not the power to bend space or push back armies. Your real power is that you make others believe in themselves. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Then he said, There is something I need to ask you. Ask. Did you ever regret claiming me? Telling everyone I was your son when I was not? Kale stopped walking. He turned to face Lucas with those old copper eyes. I need to tell you the truth, he said. About what you are. Lucas smiled gently. I have always known, Father. Kale's eyes widened. You knew you were not my blood? I knew I was exactly what I was meant to be. Human and Driven. Both and neither. You did not deceive me, Kale. You gave me a purpose. A family. A home. The biology does not matter. What matters is that you chose me. I chose to be your son. Kale's eyes became wet. He had expected anger when this moment came. He had expected betrayal. He had expected Lucas to hate him for the lie that had started everything. Instead, he found forgiveness. He found understanding. He found love. The prophecy spoke of someone who would unite the scattered children of the cosmos, Kale said quietly. I thought it meant a conqueror. But you unite them not through force. You unite them through connection. You show them what they could be together. Lucas looked up at the purple sky. The 3 moons were rising, just as they did every night. Humanity taught me something the Driven had forgotten, he said. That strength is not just about power. It is about standing up when you are small, when you are afraid, when the odds are impossible. He paused, thinking about his mother, the woman he had never known but had heard so many stories about. My mother died trying to protect her crew. Elena raised me alone in an empire that could have crushed her. Humans have always been small, always been fragile, and they have never stopped reaching for the stars. He turned back to Kale. That is why the Vex fear us. Not because of what I can do, because of what we represent together. The refusal to submit. The insistence on hope. 6 months later, the Galactic Concord was officially formed. It was a treaty that bound 17 species together in mutual defense and cooperation. If one was attacked, all would respond. If one needed help, all would give it. The signing ceremony was held on Helix 9, the same station where Elena had first met Kale 18 years ago. It seemed fitting. Representatives from all 17 species gathered in the main hall. Humans and Dreven stood side by side. Valeth and Kramani put aside old grudges. The seventh collective finally felt safe enough to come out of hiding. At the center of it all stood Lucas. The treaty called for a leader, someone to oversee the Concord and help resolve disputes between species. The representatives voted unanimously. There was only one choice. Lucas Zarthan was named the first prime, arbiter of the Galactic Concord. He accepted the position with humility. He knew it was not really about him. It was about what he represented. A bridge between worlds. A proof that different species could work together. A symbol of hope. Elena Vance stood in the crowd during the ceremony. Her hair was silver now, and her face had more lines than it used to. But her eyes were still sharp, still proud. When Lucas looked out at the crowd, their eyes met. He smiled at her, and in that smile she saw everything. She saw the baby she had held in her arms on this very station. She saw the boy she had taught human history to every year. She saw the young man who had become the embodiment of everything humanity had ever aspired to be. She smiled back, and tears rolled down her cheeks. But they were happy tears. After the ceremony, Lucas found her on the observation deck. They stood together, looking out at the stars. "Thank you," Lucas said. "For what?" "For everything. For staying when you could have left. For teaching me where I came from. For never letting me forget that I am human." Elena took his hand. "You are more than human, Lucas. You are more than Dreven. You are something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before." "I know," Lucas said. "But I am also just a boy who was loved by two families. A boy who was given a chance to be something more. That is what I want others to see. Not my powers. Not my title. Just the fact that anyone can become something greater if someone believes in them." Elena squeezed his hand. "Your mother would be so proud of you." Lucas looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vex were watching. They would come again someday. He knew that. But when they did, they would not face divided species fighting alone. They would face a united galaxy. They would face Hope Dodd, and they would lose. "Say the baby is mine," Kale had whispered all those years ago. He had meant it as a political move. A desperate lie to save his dying empire. But the universe had other plans. The baby had become so much more than a political tool. He had become a leader, a unifier, a bridge between worlds that had been separated for too long. And the lie that started it all had become the greatest truth the galaxy had ever known. Family is not about blood. It is about choice. It is about love. It is about standing together when the darkness comes. Lucas Zarthan understood that better than anyone. And he would spend the rest of his life making sure everyone else understood it too. The stars shined on. The future was bright. And somewhere in the heart of the Galactic Concord, a young human with golden eyes was just getting started. The end.